To avoid any more speculation, can you rule out that fireworks had nothing to do with the causes?
So I will, at this stage, this is being investigated both by ourselves and specialist fire officers. I am not ruling anything out. I don't think we will be in a position to do that. We keep an open mind. It is such an early stage and there is an awful lot of work to be done.
It was Diwali this weekend, and as part of the celebrations, people do have candles that they light inside their homes. Could you say anything about that? Are you still keeping an open mind about that as well?
Just to add what Sean's saying there, so at the moment this is subject to a significant investigation with the London Fire Brigade and the Metropolitan Police. At the moment we're keeping a very open mind in terms of the cause of the fire, and we're making sure that we go through very forensically any evidence that is currently at the scene. But at the moment, I'm afraid, as Sean's already articulated, we're unable to confirm one way or the other about what the cause of the fire was.
Could you give us the ages of the children
At this time, I'm not able to give the ages, but when I'm in a position to give the ages, I'll be happy to do so.
We heard about one person being unaccounted for. What can you tell us about that?
We know that one person is an adult, but at that stage we are still trying to account for that person.
And what about the situation of the firefighters facing this place?
So the firefighters who arrived on scene faced a significant blaze on the ground floor and the first floor. We deployed 10 fire engines and over 70 firefighters to the scene of operations. We deployed breathing apparatus crews into the building to fight the fire, and it was brought under control by 1:20 a.m. The first fire appliance was on scene within 5 minutes of mobilisation. Tragically, as Sean has already articulated, when the breathing apparatus crews entered the property, they discovered 5 persons who have sadly been pronounced dead at the scene. Just to add the thoughts of the London Fire Commissioner, everyone within the London Fire Brigade, to the friends, family and local community, we are going to have fire crews on scene throughout the rest of the day and throughout the week to provide reassurance and answer any questions that the local community have absolutely got about this tragic incident. As I say, we're now working very closely with the Metropolitan Police to try to ascertain the cause of this fire, but at the moment that remains unknown.
How stable is the property in terms of carrying out that investigation that you're working on?
So the property itself remains a challenge. So the external structural integrity of the row of terraced houses themselves is sound, but the internal situation within the seat of the fire house itself is very, very dangerous, and we've seen internal collapse within that building. That's why we've got specialist teams on site at the moment who are able to shore up the internal structures of the building that then enable the investigation to take place. But it is a very difficult situation within that building. Having said that, fire crews have been able to prevent further damage to the rest of that row of properties.
Is it still your understanding that all 5 people who lost their lives are members of the same family?
So we believe that to be the case at this time.
So have you deployed extra officers because you fear there might be a culprit out there? You're actively investigating?
As I have said, we're not looking for anyone else at this time, and we are keeping an open mind as to this incident, this very tragic incident.
The 5 people that lost their lives, but they...
The residents were evacuated.
I can't answer that at this time. I'm so sorry.
How many of the 5 people were children?
3 of the 5 are children.
There were, of course, 7 people, you believe, in the house at the time. 1 person who escaped before you arrived, 5 who obviously have passed away, and 1 who is unaccounted for. Do you believe that all 7 were part of the same family?
I can't comment on 7 at all at this time. I'm so sorry.
The 5 people that were in the house, did they become cut off? And was their escape route blocked?
At the moment, it's too difficult to tell that, because we're still having to make sure that we're shoring up inside that property. Once we're able to do that, we'll be able to determine whether or not escape routes were blocked, or if there's anything else that we need to consider as part of our investigation. But at the moment, the damage inside the building is too severe for us to be able to make that assessment at this current time.
From your experience, do you think the fire started inside the property or outside?
So for the time being, I think until the investigation has actually played out and we've got the specialist resources into the building, it's too early to speculate.
Can you say which bedroom they were found in, or were they a bedroom or any type of room?
So at the moment, as I say, we can't comment any further until the investigation has concluded, and then we'll be able to provide that detail.
Okay, last couple of questions, please.
Do you know who owns it?
How are your firefighters
faring
faring
up?
up?
Own it? Who own the property? Has that person?
I have no information this time as to ownership of the property.
Last question.
How are the firefighters?
So the firefighters, as you can imagine, all of the emergency services that attended the scene were faced with a horrific situation. We have counselling and trauma services available to all our crews, and I would like to pay tribute to all of the firefighters, officers, control staff, colleagues in the Metropolitan Police and the London Ambulance Service, as well as the local Borough Council, who were able to assist in what was a tragic and terrible incident.
What was the condition of the man who was escaping the property? I can't comment on that at this time.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, press conference there from Sean Wilson, Chief Superintendent of the Police, and Deputy Commissioner Jonathan Smith from London Fire Brigade on this house fire that happened on Sunday night. 10:30 they were called on Sunday night, and it took them until 1:20 to bring that house fire under control. It's thought there were 7 people in the house at the time. 5 of them tragically died. Sean Wilson said it was truly a terrible incident. Of those 5 that died, 2 were adults, 3 were children. 1 adult was able to escape but was injured. 1 other adult, we believe, is unaccounted for. The police expressing enormous condolences and talking about the impact that this will have on friends and family and the community, but also saying, along with the fire brigade, that they have an open mind to the cause of the fire. They're looking at the evidence that there is. They're going to be carrying out forensic examinations, obviously, on this property, which will be meticulous. They're appealing for anyone who may have any information about this. And you heard their questions from reporters there pointing out this is quite a multicultural area. It is, of course, Diwali, wondering whether potentially this could have been something that was linked to candles. And both the police and the fire service saying that they are not going to make any comments about that. They are absolutely going to wait until they've carried out the forensic examinations, keeping a very open mind. But the firefighters saying that when they got there, and they got there very, very quickly, they said that there was a significant blaze on the ground floor and the first floor of that building. And the thoughts of London Fire Commissioners are with friends, family and the local community. Well, Matthew Thompson, our reporter, is down there live in Hounslow for us. And Matthew talked about the local community. There must be enormous shock that this has happened on what was a terrace street of housing.
The distress is not only palpable, it's very visible. I've been here since about 10 o'clock this morning, and I've spoken directly to a number of very distressed and grieving relatives who had turned up. One of the gentlemen I spoke to described himself as a cousin of the family. He'd come straight here, having had a phone call this morning to be told about the news. But frankly, he was in the dark, and many of them have been asking us as journalists whether we have information, because still at this point, you heard the police and fire brigade in that press conference there, still being very circumspect about what actually may have caused this fire. And that's understandable, given that investigations have to take their course, and the police would not be drawn on any of the possible suggestions, whether it be fireworks or deliberate arson that journalists attempted to quiz them about. And that's, as I say, understandable, given that the investigations have to take their course. But there are still lots of people standing around me, some of them relatives, some of them just concerned neighbours, who are desperate to know exactly how this tragedy could have unfolded in the middle of this quiet suburban neighbourhood. And we have the worst news confirmed there by the police and fire brigade that 5 people have died, understood to be members of the same family, and 3 of them children. And my understanding is that some of them were quite young children. I spoke to a neighbour, the very next door neighbour actually, who said that they and their family of several people evacuated the property around 10:30 last night, simply grabbed whatever they could, the clothes on their back, quite literally. I spoke to the woman while she was wearing a dressing gown, which is all she'd been able to get out of her house. They'd run away from the house, all of them mercifully safe, and we'll find out exactly what's going to happen in the days ahead, no doubt.